right, welcome everyone to Thursday night's edition of Southern Woods and Waters. We're bringing it to you live from Nashville, Tennessee, the home of some great fishing, great water sports here. It is springtime, has sprung, and people are getting ready to get out on the water. We're going to help you tonight. I think the world of this guy. We've been friends a long, long time, and he's right down the street from my house, which makes it even more special. But we have James McInturf with us, and he is with Performance Propeller, located right there in Lakewood. And James, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, here. Good to see you.
Good to see you, brother. And, you know, I send a lot of people. If anybody asks me, I always highly recommend your shop. And I think it's because, James, I've been in your shop, and I watch you guys, and I've watched you take some pretty rough looking stuff and make it usable again. And that's hard to do sometimes.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes almost impossible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I want to tell everybody, James doesn't necessarily do this with a machine. He doesn't necessarily have a machine that will automatically do the welding and automatically do the curvature of the blades or the fins and all that. He doesn't do that. Most of his stuff is done with a hammer and an anvil.
Yes, sir.
And doing it by hand.
Yes, sir.
And I've watched you and watched you and watched you, James. You're good, very good at it.
Practice.
Practice. You've done a lot of it. How long have you been there now, James?
I've been in my current location since 1988. I was up the street for 3 years, started in 1985, and that's a long time.
That's a long time, brother.
About 30 years.
You've seen a lot of props come through that shop.
A few.
And I like to, you know, James has always got his door, says big sign out there, says open. You ought to go in there and look. You've got some strange looking props too on display. Some that are big, some that are little, and some that you don't know quite what they are.
Well, a lot of people bring me propellers because they don't know what to do with them. They have them laying around, and I guess I'm a prop collector too.
You are, and I tell you what, tonight's show we're going to help. James is going to, we're going to deal or delve into his knowledge of these props and help you a little bit. I hear a lot of guys and gals out there, they love their boats, they love what they love to be out there, but they feel like I'm just not getting enough out of it, or I'm not doing this, or it won't do this. And a lot of times it can be something as simple as the prop.
Yes, sir.
Changing the pitch.
Yes, sir.
It's according to what, James, people want their boats to do.
Yes, sir.
Now, I know that skiing and stuff like that, ski boats and everything, they use a lot of brass. Is bronze, do they do any, it's just brass, isn't it?
Yeah, bronze and another form of bronze is nibral.
Yeah, nibral, that's it.
Yes, sir.
And I've noticed though on some of these like ski boats and things like that, and these wake boats and everything, they got twin props, one right behind the other. What is that?
Well, it's what they're trying to do is trying to take the steering torque out of the boat.
Now, what do you mean by that now?
Well, you know, if you've ever had a boat and you're driving along and you ever let go of the wheel, it's going to go one way or the other real quick. Right. But when you got both of those propellers on there counter-rotating, one will turn one way, the other turn the other way, and it'll take the torque out and the boat will go straight. Well,
that's pretty... Well, now that would make sense if you're skiing or something like that.
It works very well. A lot of the bigger cruiser-type boats now, you see them... Used to, they would not run very fast, but now they run really fast, and that's because of that double propeller. Bravo 3 is Mercury's outdrive, and it works really well. Volvo also has one too, and it does very well also.
Well, it makes sense that if you're going straight, you got less drag on your boat than if you were going side to side.
Yes, sir.
So you're picking a gaining speed by going straight. But I've seen several of those wake boats and ski boats and things like that have the twins on there. And I wanted to ask you, that's I've been wondering about that.
Well, it has a lot more low end torque.
Okay, now what is they want to jump it up fast? They want to get on plane fast?
It helps it take off much faster than it did with just one propeller.
Okay.
Because you got both of them working together, and it'll really snatch you out of the hole much quicker.
So that's great for skiers and wakeboarders because they want to get on the board fast and
Yes, sir.
and
Yes,
start skiing and everything.
Yes, sir.
Now, fishermen, we know we got the BASS Elite going on, James, down there at Guntersville right now. A lot of them have what they call, and everybody calls it hole shot, coming out of the hole, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Mercury's have, and Yamaha's all recommend their own props.
Yes, sir. Right.
But what comes from the factory if you go to Nashville Marine and you go down there and you see David McMurray and you're interested in buying a Phoenix bass boat and you put a Mercury 250 on it, what's normally going to come on that?
Phoenix, a lot of times, they will have a prop called a Fury.
Okay.
It's a special propeller that Mercury has developed over the years. Got a special alloy, and that's a lot of the Phoenix have that on there. It works really well. Has a lot of good low end, good top end speed.
So you're looking at the build of the boat to tell whether or not what prop needs to go on the motor? Would you think that?
Yeah, that's a lot goes into it. A lot of the bigger boats, now we've got a lot bigger blade surface on these propellers for the larger boats and the larger horsepower outboards.
I just noticed people are putting 300s on these bass boats, and
Yes,
then
sir.
the other day I saw on YouTube out in the ocean a guy had 4 Mercury 300s on there. That's all. Wow, that's 1,200.
That's a lot of horsepower.
That's a lot of horsepower. Now, how do when you go from a single, do you as the prop man, I mean, can people come to you, James, and say, James, I run 1, or James, I'm fixing to run 2, I'm fixing to go in the ocean. What do you recommend?
Right.
Or do you know how to calibrate and help a person out?
In general, we do, just from experience.
Right.
But a lot of times, choosing a propeller is trial and error. I mean, a lot of times, Mercury has particular propellers that work very well on certain boats, depending on what it is and what you want to do with it.
Okay.
A lot of the bass guys, they'll run either a Mercury Trophy, they'll run the Mercury Fury, or a lot of people run the Mercury Tempest.
Okay.
They all of them work very, very well.
And Yamaha does the same thing. Yamaha comes out with their own VMX series
Yes, sir.
that they put on I think they put the VMX on the 200 and the 225s and the 250s.
Yeah, they've got a special prop that works very well on their motors also. It's a VMAX propeller. They work super. They're big diameter. They're like a 15 1/8 diameter. Normally, their 25 pitch is a very common size. Some of the higher horsepowers may even run a 27 pitch, which is a very high pitch propeller.
Okay, now when we're talking about, well, I hate to get into it because I really want to go to our second. I'd rather do my pitch thing in the second segment because, guys and gals, I promise you, James has forgotten more than I'll ever know about props. I promise you. But before we go to break, I want to start by saying, last week I gave everybody a little misinformation, and I want to say right now that I apologize for that. But when I said, we had a caller call in about crappie fishing, and I said that Reelfoot didn't have a limit. They do have a creel limit. You can only catch 30 crappie on Lake Reelfoot, but they do not have a size limit, which again, like I was trying to explain, that means, to me, that means that lake is full of crappie and really is abundant with them, and they got great spawns and all that. So if you really want to have a good time, Reelfoot is a great place to go. Blue Bank Resort, Mike Hayes owns it. Billy Blakely is the senior guide there. You will have a blast if you want to go crappie fishing. I highly recommend Reelfoot Lake. Look up Blue Bank Resort, and they do have a creel limit. They do have a creel limit. It is 30 a day per person, but they don't have a size limit. So I hope that helps everybody out. And again, I apologize. I try to do my best up here to answer as many questions as possible. Sometimes I slip up, so I'm very, very sorry for that. Hey, let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to get into this pitch thing because there's several people that would like to know. Hurry back to more Southern Woods Waters.